Talking to trainer Steve Hobby, who's spending his first summer here at Monmouth Park, but has been a mainstay as a trainer in the Midwest. And Steve, we go back a long way. We're talking about 2-year-olds and maidens, and in particular 2-year-olds. Would you say that you're a trainer that has a good success rate with 2-year-olds, or do you tend to do the long-term approach?
I'm more of the long-term approach. We usually buy horses with that kind of a pedigree in mind, and we kind of take our time as 2-year-olds.
What are the factors that you look for in those 2-year-olds besides the pedigree that tell you that this is going to be the type that's either an early developer or something longer down the line?
Well, conformation, of course. If they're long and lanky and long-legged, and or if they're short and stocky and things like that.
So when fans are handicapping 2-year-olds or looking at a 2-year-old that you're starting, what should they be looking for? What might tell them that horse is either ready to go or maybe wait for another day?
Probably the work pattern mostly. If it's got some pretty quick works, it's probably going to run early. If the works are a little slower and a little longer, then we're probably waiting for longer time.
So then looking ahead with maidens, what are the things that might tell better, today's the day?
If it's a never ran before, like I said, the work pattern, if it has run before, see if it's progressing, or maybe we change the distance, maybe change the equipment, things like that. Maybe we're figuring out how it ought to run.
In terms of workouts, are you a trainer that uses jockeys versus exercise riders? And in terms of times, is there a certain pattern that you use with young horses, or does it vary from horse to horse?
It varies. I try to use my own people if I can, because they're used to the horses and they're more likely to do what I tell them than the jockey is. But we will use the jockey some. I wouldn't mind the rider working the horse one time before it rides it if I can get that in.
In terms of a maiden of any age, what are the things that you see as a trainer that tell you this horse is finally putting it all together and maybe ready to break through?
Like I said, they'll start showing some improvement. Maybe paying a little more attention. Working, finishing a little stronger, working a little more professionally.
Is there any type of horse, young horse, that's easier to work with than another?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'll vary.
And most importantly, how do you know exactly what type of a race to put a young horse in, as far as distance, as far as surface? What would tell you, for instance, that maybe the horse is better suited to the grass?
Well, pedigree, and the way they get over the ground. Some horses have a turf kind of a stride, some of them don't. But you never really know till you try it.
All right, well, you've tried and succeeded many times. We appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Steve Hobby, one of the trainers in the Midwest that does such a great job with his horses.